Hello, welcome to Empire Sports Talk. I'm your host, John Downey, and I would like to show you guys the best clips of each of the outstanding people I was able to speak with. In the highlight reel, you won't see Charlie DBA's Jr. present, unfortunately because he was audio only. But we will hear from Chris Carrino on what it's like to be a radio play-by-play announcer, David Resnick, who does play-by-play for a G League team, which is essentially the minor leagues of basketball and what comes with that, Al Dukes, the challenge of being a producer of a highly touted morning show, and Nick Regina, someone who covers a small area of sports and how that can be difficult in the sense of coming up with new content. All right, let's get it started.
I think it's really important to have mentors and have people that guide you along. I was in a position to be in a room with Marty Glickman. Not everybody gets that opportunity. This is the guy who invented basketball play-by-play on the radio. So I would be a fool not to sit there and soak everything up and not realize that I don't know what I'm doing. I have to listen to him. All the broadcasters you admire, all the guys that you want to emulate, they're all on the air. They're out there for you to hear it. So if you don't have them in person, you have them on the radio, you have them on TV. Listen to them. Try to break down what it is. I'm glad to kind of pay it forward. I feel like play-by-play is an art form. It's a passion of mine and I love it. So I'm willing to share my ideas with everybody else. Uh, but the thing about, I learned from Marty Glickman, who was doing it in the 50s and the 60s, or, when not everybody had TVs, he was doing radio. There was a different way of doing it back then. The world is different now. So you have to put your own spin on it. You have to be your own unique individual, but also understand what the audience is after. And yeah, so I think it's important to listen to those things, but then also give it your own spin as well.
Growing up in like the New York area, how do you feel that influenced like your career path, or did it have anything to do with it? Maybe nothing.
For me, I think it's just being a sport fan and being aware and understanding that the game is more than just the players, but it's the referees and the PA announcers and the broadcasters. So always had a holistic approach of that. And then I would say being in New York or growing up in New York definitely led me towards thinking about broadcasting because of just how many great collegiate programs are within driving distance. So I think a combination of all those things made me attuned to the fact that I could have a career in this type of space. I think there's a couple of ways to prep where you want, in my opinion, the board or the chart in front of you to be like all of the information that you gathered synthesized. Meaning, I have all these stats and I have all these notes and I have all this prep. Like, what does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the information that ultimately like ends up on your chart should be the basic information, but also like what does it mean, or take it to the next step. Because in theory, your audience and the fans have access to all of the information that you've just gathered from the internet. And so reading off stats or reading off numbers doesn't quite have the same impact today that I think it might have generations ago, when it's possible that you as the broadcaster would only have access to the information.
I think the challenge of covering New York sports is that we have a lot of teams. And if you're a Yankee fan, you're probably not a Met fan. If you're a Jet fan, you're probably not a Giant fan. In other big cities like Boston, you could say, of course, there's going to be, Cowboys fans up in Boston, but the majority of the people listening to the sports station in Boston, they're Patriots fans, they're Red Sox fans, they're Bruins fans, and they're Celtics fans. So whenever you're talking about those things, your people are interested. The positive about that, though, is that there are so many teams that if the Yankees are doing nothing and are boring, the Mets are doing something and are not boring, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of stories and topics to choose from.
Initially inspired you to pursue a career like this? Because I know it can be a lot, but there definitely was, I feel, something that got you into it.
Mark Canizaro from the New York Post came into my class, probably freshman or sophomore year, and the one thing he told us as journalism students was that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and that's something that always stuck with me. I interned for a few years, I was part-time for a few years, I did freelance work for a few years, and that was all leading up to a full-time job. I didn't get full-time until my late 20s. I didn't get my first big promotion until almost 30. And a lot of these bigger publications aren't going to look at you until you have 5, 10 years in the door in this business. It's a competitive industry, that's for sure. And knowing that it's a marathon, not a sprint, is something that was a big piece of advice that I took from my college days.
I hope everyone enjoyed the Best of Empire Sports Talk. I also want to thank all these accomplished gentlemen who took time out of their day to chat with me. And if you guys are interested, new episodes will be produced after the new year, as the show will expand and will be posted on YouTube. Stay tuned. Hope everyone has a great night, and thank you for coming.